So at the beginning of this month, during one of our live streams, we sat down and I gave you some teams that I thought everybody needed to be aware of in terms of college football recruiting, especially during the month of June. One of those teams was the USC Trojans, who have absolutely owned the month of June, and just yesterday we talked about a great addition they got in their recruiting class during the course of the weekend. But before the day was over, they had two more wins we've got to break down today. But before we can, as always, y'all know the drill. I have got to hear from you. Hop down to the comments. Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Do you believe the Trojans will finish in the top 10 recruiting classes in the nation? Let me know what you're thinking. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. Hit that bell notification as I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it. And if you enjoyed the content, be sure to like and comment down below, as those interactions seem small. They are massive to content creators such as myself, and we are less than 800 subscribers away from our 20,000 subscriber goal. I'd love to have you a part of this unbelievable community. But having said all that, let's jump right into this. And as always, anytime we're dealing with group commitments, I like to start on the defensive side of the ball first because I'm a little bit biased towards defensive football. It's what I grew up loving to watch, and it's remained with me to this day. And talking about a standout defensive win in terms of recruiting, USC gets another defensive back that has got to excite Trojan fans everywhere. As Marquis Gallegos commits to the Trojans, one of the top players in all of high school football, certainly one of the best defensive backs in the nation. And if we look, he comes in specifically as the number 253 player in the nation, the number 21 safety, and the number 23 player in the state of California. And this is something we talked about yesterday, that Lincoln Riley and the Trojans, they don't have to go far to access a ton of talent, because California is absolutely loaded in the class of 2024. Over 23 prospects find their way in the top 300 players in the nation. That's a lot of talent you have to work with. And if you're USC, while there are other brands in the state, you're uniquely positioned to be able to win a lot of these recruiting battles. So it's going to be really interesting to see what work they continue to do. But one thing we have got to recognize, Donte Williams continues to stack wins on the board. He is rated as one of the best recruiters in the nation during the class of 2024 thus far. Though it's early, we're not even halfway through it yet, he's rated as one of the top recruiters in the nation per 24/7 Sports, rated as a top 10 recruiter, and I remain steadfast that personally, I think that's the best hire Lincoln Riley made, was retaining Coach Williams, and I think the proof is in the pudding. I think that secondary is going to be a secondary that's improving. I think the talent in the secondary, there's no question that that's improving, and I'm really interested to see what continues to happen. But another coach for the Trojans we talk about at length anytime I have an opportunity to is offensive line coach Josh Henson. And with that, there's no better way for us to transition from the win on the defensive side of the ball to the win on the offensive side of the ball, where the USC Trojans continue getting offensive linemen, this time an offensive lineman from the state of Texas, Makai, Saina, an interior offensive lineman who ranks as the number 415 player nationally, the number 24 interior offensive lineman, and a top player in the state of Texas. And one thing we talk about anytime we talk about players like a Gallegos that comes from a program where they're playing high-level competition, we can also have that conversation about a Makai Saina who comes from Arlington Martin. He's playing a high level of competition. And the reason why I want to bring that to your attention is simple. Whenever we're talking about the transition from high school football to college football, it's a big jump, and anything you can do to expedite your transition, I think that's going to serve you. These guys that come from programs that are used to not only practicing against guys that will be playing college football, but also playing on Friday nights against guys that will be playing college football, I think it serves them well. And because of that, Makai Saina is a name we have got to keep up with. But we also need to recognize the work that Josh Henson is putting in on the offensive line for the Trojans in this class, as they have several big wins along the offensive line, something that's going to be really necessary with the move to the Big Ten on the horizon. One of the things we've talked about, and this will be the last point before we get out of here, I really like the way Lincoln Riley and staff are approaching this recruiting class, because if we look, they've given a lot of attention to the bodies up front, whether that be offensive linemen or tight ends. And when we look at the style of play that they're going to face in the Big Ten, I think that's conducive to success. You don't have to become a run-heavy, power-run team. You don't have to get away from what Lincoln Riley does, but you do have to adapt at some level, and I do think that there is a adaptation happening right before our very eyes, and I'm really interested in watching what it looks like on the football field, because it's one thing to recruit to it, it's another thing to implement it. But at the end of the day, USC fans everywhere need to be very excited by the results they're being given in recruiting. And before we step out of here, we have to ask and answer the question, what does this mean for the USC recruiting class? With these two additions, they remain with Clemson as the only two programs within the top 10 recruiting classes in the class of 2024 that find themselves there with 15 or less prospects, but this puts USC as the number 7 recruiting class in the nation with 15 commits and an average recruit rank of 92.15. Once again, nothing but time and opportunity out in front of your recruiting class, some big battles ahead, and you have got to love where you currently sit. So hop down to the comments, let me know what you're thinking. That's it. See ya.